There is a quiet truth most people spend their entire lives avoiding. People do not disturb you because they are powerful. They disturb you because something inside you is still holding on. You may believe pain comes from what others say or do, but if you look closely, the deepest pain does not begin at the moment of the insult. It begins at the moment your heart says, "This should not have happened to me." That expectation is the doorway through which hurt enters. No one reaches your heart unless your heart is already leaning toward them. When words sting, it is not the sound of the words that wounds you. When disrespect burns, it is not the behavior itself. When rejection stays with you, it is not the person who left. It is attachment. Attachment to being acknowledged. Attachment to being respected. Attachment to being understood. The Sufi path teaches that attachment is not love, it is dependence. And dependence quietly hands your inner peace to people who do not know how to carry it. The Sufis did not become free by building walls around their hearts. They became free by loosening their grip on outcomes, opinions, and expectations. They learned that the world only has power over what you refuse to release. When you cling, every word becomes heavy. Every look becomes meaningful. Every action becomes personal. But when you release, something remarkable happens. The same words lose their weight. The same behavior loses its sting. The same people lose their influence. Detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. It does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop tying your worth to how others treat you. When your heart stops reaching outward for validation, harm has nowhere to settle. It moves past you without leaving a mark, like wind passing through an open field. The truth stands silent. Only ego needs to explain itself. One of the most exhausting habits the human heart carries is the need to explain itself to everyone, to be understood, to be justified, to be cleared in the eyes of others. This habit feels harmless, even reasonable, but on the Sufi path, it is recognized as a subtle chain. When someone misunderstands you, questions your intention, or paints you in a way that feels unfair, something inside you tightens. The mind rushes forward with arguments. The tongue prepares its defense. The heart begins rehearsing what it wishes it had said. This urgency does not come from truth. It comes from the ego. Truth is steady. It does not tremble when doubted. It does not shrink when misread. It does not disappear when someone refuses to see it. Truth remains exactly what it is, whether it is recognized or ignored. The Sufis understood that constant explanation is a form of bondage. Each time you feel compelled to defend yourself unnecessarily, you quietly place your peace in the hands of another person's understanding. And understanding is unreliable, because it depends on mood, bias, jealousy, and perception. Not everyone is meant to see you clearly. Not everyone has the capacity to read intention. Not everyone listens with a clean heart. Explaining yourself to such people does not bring relief. It only deepens exhaustion. Silence, when chosen consciously, is not weakness. It is alignment. It is the quiet confidence that Allah already knows the truth of you. And when Allah knows, the opinions of people lose their authority. This does not mean you never speak. It means you no longer speak from panic. You no longer rush to fix every misunderstanding. You no longer chase approval disguised as clarification. The Sufi learns to ask a simple question before responding. Is this explanation needed, or is it feeding the ego's hunger to be seen as right? When the need to explain dissolves, something powerful replaces it, a calm rootedness, a sense of inner stability that does not rise or fall with public perception. Truth does not shout to survive. It stands. What others throw at you reveals their pain, not your worth. Many people carry a silent belief that when someone attacks them, criticizes them, or tries to hurt them, it must be saying something about who they are. The Sufi path gently dismantles this belief and replaces it with clarity. People do not speak from wholeness when they try to wound. They speak from inner disorder. Words meant to harm are rarely deliberate acts of strength. They are expressions of unresolved pain searching for release. A heart at peace does not need to cut another to feel alive. Anger often rises from grief that was never allowed to surface. Cruelty often grows from shame that was never healed. Mockery often hides insecurity that feels too heavy to face. When you take these expressions personally, you absorb pain that was never yours to carry. You mistake someone else's inner chaos as a verdict on your worth. The Sufis trained themselves to see through this illusion. This does not mean excusing harmful behavior or staying close to it. It means refusing to internalize it. Understanding the source of someone's words allows you to release their power over your heart. You can recognize the wound without stepping into it. When someone throws bitterness at you, you are not required to catch it. You are allowed to let it fall where it belongs. This choice preserves your inner clarity and keeps your heart clean. The more you learn to separate another person's pain from your identity, the lighter your inner world becomes. Their storms no longer enter you. They remain outside, where they were always meant to stay. Lower the nafs, not your boundaries. There is a misunderstanding that has caused many sincere people to suffer in silence. The idea that spirituality requires constant endurance of harm. The Sufi path does not teach this. It teaches discernment. Lowering the nafs does not mean erasing your self-respect. Humility is not the same as availability. Patience is not permission for mistreatment. These distinctions are essential for inner peace. The nafs demands reaction. It wants confrontation, validation, dominance, or victory. Lowering the nafs means releasing these cravings. But boundaries are different. Boundaries are not about ego. They are about preservation. A boundary is a quiet decision that says, "This energy does not belong in my inner space." It does not require explanation, confrontation, or announcement. Often, the strongest boundaries are invisible. The Sufis understood that distance can be an act of wisdom. Sometimes the most dignified response is withdrawal without bitterness. No arguments, no justifications, no emotional negotiations. When you remove access, chaos loses its invitation. When you stop engaging, disruption loses its fuel. This is not avoidance, it is mastery. Lowering the nafs brings softness to the heart. Maintaining boundaries brings safety to the soul. Together, they create a state where peace is not constantly threatened. You do not need to prove your strength by enduring everything. Strength is knowing what deserves your presence and what does not. A heart filled with Allah has no space for insult. A heart that is easily disturbed is often a heart that is still searching for something outside itself, not because it is weak, but because it has been left too empty for too long. Words enter easily when there is space waiting to be filled. The Sufis did not spend their lives trying to protect themselves from the world's noise. They focused on filling their inner world so completely that noise could no longer settle there. This is a quiet but powerful shift. When the heart is filled with remembrance, insults lose their weight. They may be heard, but they do not echo. They may arrive, but they do not stay. This is not emotional numbness, it is inner occupation. A heart occupied with Allah is not wandering through every comment, gesture, or opinion. It is anchored. And anchoring changes everything. When remembrance becomes steady, you stop replaying conversations in your mind. You stop measuring yourself through the reactions of others. You stop granting people the authority to disturb your inner state. This fullness does not come from effort alone. It comes from consistency, small moments of awareness, quiet remembrance, a return to Allah that becomes habitual rather than occasional. As the heart fills, something subtle happens. The same words that once cut deeply now pass with little impact. The same people who once controlled your emotions now feel distant, not because they changed, but because your inner world did. When Allah occupies the heart, there is simply no room left for insult to rest. Being misunderstood is how Allah hides you from the crowd. There is a deep frustration many people carry. The pain of not being understood, of being misread, mislabeled, or reduced by others. The Sufi path reframes this experience entirely. Not every misunderstanding is a loss. Some are protection. If everyone understood you, everyone would have access to you. If everyone had access to you, your energy would be scattered. Allah does not expose what He is refining. The Sufis were often misunderstood, not because they lacked clarity, but because depth is invisible to shallow perception. What lives at the surface cannot recognize what exists in the depths. Misunderstanding acts as a filter. It keeps away those who approach without sincerity. It shields your inner work from careless opinions and premature exposure. When people misunderstand you, there is a temptation to correct them, to clarify, to be seen properly. But sometimes silence is safer than explanation. Sometimes Allah allows misunderstanding to remain so that your heart can grow undisturbed. What is meant for you will recognize you without effort. What is not meant for you does not need explanation. Accepting misunderstanding brings relief. It removes the pressure to perform for acceptance. It allows you to walk your path quietly without dragging your soul through every judgment. Being misunderstood is not always a sign that something is wrong. Often, it is a sign that something sacred is being protected. There is another layer to misunderstanding that most people never reach. When Allah allows you to be misunderstood, He is not only protecting you from others, He is freeing you from dependence. Dependence on praise, dependence on validation, dependence on being seen correctly in every room. As long as you need to be understood, a part of your heart still lives in people's hands, and anything that lives there is fragile. The Sufi learns to stand even when no one claps, to walk even when no one agrees, to remain steady even when the narrative about them is incomplete or unfair. This is not arrogance, it is maturity. Misunderstanding teaches you where your center truly is. If confusion around you shakes your peace, it means your roots are still shallow. But when misunderstanding passes and your heart remains calm, you know something has settled deeply inside you. Allah often removes witnesses before He completes His work. If everyone saw what you were becoming too early, their expectations would interfere. Their opinions would rush you. Their labels would box you in. So Allah lets people misunderstand, underestimate, or overlook you, not as punishment, but as space. Space to grow without pressure. Space to heal without commentary. Space to transform without interruption. When you stop fighting misunderstanding, something beautiful happens. You stop narrating yourself. You stop editing your soul for approval. You begin to live quietly, truthfully, and inwardly aligned. Those who are meant to recognize you will do so effortlessly. They will not need explanations or defenses. Something in them will simply know. And those who do not understand were never meant to walk beside you anyway. Being misunderstood is not the absence of guidance. It is often the sign that Allah is guiding you privately. The soul responds slowly. The nafs reacts loudly. One of the clearest signs of inner maturity is not what you say, but how quickly you feel the need to say it. The nafs is impatient. It wants immediate release. It reacts before understanding has time to arrive. When someone provokes you, challenges you, or disrespects you, the nafs rises instantly. The body tightens. The thoughts race. Words form before wisdom is consulted. This speed feels powerful, but it is not strength. It is loss of control, disguised as expression. The Sufi learns to recognize this moment. The space between what happens and how you respond is where freedom lives. The soul does not rush. It observes first. It waits for the heat of the moment to cool, so clarity can speak instead of emotion. Silence, in these moments, is not avoidance. It is restraint rooted in awareness. Most regret is born from fast reactions. Most damage is done by words spoken too early. Most peace is lost in moments that did not require an answer at all. The Sufi path trains patience not as delay, but as discernment. It teaches you to ask inwardly, if I speak now, am I protecting my state or feeding my ego? Many conflicts dissolve on their own when denied an immediate reaction. Many provocations lose their power when met with calm. People who seek reaction grow restless when they receive none. Responding slowly does not mean suppressing truth. It means allowing truth to arrive whole, rather than fractured by emotion. Over time, this practice changes you. You stop feeling the urge to correct every misunderstanding. You stop engaging every challenge. You begin to value inner stability more than external victory. The nafs wants to be heard immediately. The soul is content to be aligned. When you choose the soul over the nafs, you discover something rare. The ability to remain unbothered, not because nothing happens, but because nothing is allowed to steal your inner state. And that is real strength. There is a deeper discipline hidden inside slowness. When you stop reacting immediately, you begin to see how many situations were never asking for your voice at all. They were only testing your state. The nafs believes every moment is a call to respond. The soul knows most moments are invitations to remain still. Many people feel powerful when they answer back quickly. They believe silence means weakness and restraint means defeat. The Sufi learns the opposite. Control over the tongue is control over the heart, and control over the heart is mastery of the self. Reaction gives others access to you. Stillness removes that access. When someone realizes they can disturb you, they unconsciously feel power. When they realize they cannot, they lose interest. Calm is not passive, it is disarming. There is also mercy in delayed response. Time reveals truth more clearly than impulse ever could. What feels urgent in the heat of emotion often becomes unnecessary once the moment passes. The Sufi trusts this process and allows time to do what arguments never can. With practice, something changes inside you. The surge of emotion still appears, but it no longer commands you. You feel it without becoming it. You observe it without obeying it. This separation is freedom. This does not mean you never speak firmly or set boundaries. It means when you do speak, your words are clean, They are not contaminated by anger, pride, or the need to dominate. They land with clarity instead of force. The nafs speaks to win. The soul speaks to remain true. As you learn to pause, to breathe, and to let moments pass, you will notice that peace stops feeling fragile. It no longer depends on others behaving well. It depends on you choosing alignment over impulse, and in that choice, you stop being easily disturbed. When Allah is your defender, nothing can reach you. There is a level of inner peace that does not come from effort, strategy, or emotional control. It comes from certainty. The certainty that you are not standing alone in this world, exposed and unprotected. You are standing under the care of Allah. Most people spend their lives trying to defend themselves. They guard their image, their reputation, their position, and their emotions. This constant defense creates exhaustion because the world is unpredictable and people are inconsistent. On the Sufi path, this burden is released. When you truly know that Allah is your defender, the need to protect yourself begins to soften. You stop carrying every insult as a threat. You stop interpreting every challenge as an attack. You stop treating every misunderstanding as something that must be corrected. Not because harm disappears, but because its meaning changes. Nothing touches you unless Allah allows it. And if Allah allows it, it carries wisdom, purification, or redirection. This understanding does not make you passive, it makes you grounded. The Sufis trusted that what reached them was already measured. That trust removed fear. When fear leaves, reaction weakens. When reaction weakens, peace remains. This reliance does not mean ignoring injustice or abandoning responsibility. It means knowing where your ultimate protection lies. You do your part with sincerity, and you leave the outcome to Allah. When someone tries to harm you and you remember who truly holds power, their attempt feels small. Their intention loses weight. Their words no longer define your state. This is not detachment from life. It is alignment with reality. Allah sees what people do not. He knows what they misunderstand. He defends in ways you cannot predict and protects in ways you cannot see. When this certainty settles in the heart, you move differently. You speak less, react less, and trust more. The world may still try to shake you, but it no longer succeeds. Because when Allah is your defender, nothing reaches you without purpose, and nothing leaves you without protection.